what happens now. Okay. I mean, this is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. So I'm coming back up. I'm coming back up. I'm coming back up another way. That's how I'm going to do it. And so I'm back. I'm live. Because I will not be defeated. I don't care what anybody says. I will not be defeated. Y'all didn't hear what I said. And so isn't it amazing how in the midst of all of this, I'm just going to do this and then I'm going to come back to us. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I'm back on. Yes, I am. The devil is a liar. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. So we got to look at this. We got to look at the fact that people can have it going on. They can have a lot of great things happening in their lives. It looks like everything is working right, but all of a sudden things go wrong. All of a sudden things go haywire. And what can happen is it can create within us a spiritual situation that does not allow us to really grasp what the Lord wants to do in our lives. I'm going to shut my other thing down here and I'm going to keep it going. Still nothing. It should be up and running right now. Okay? And so what we see here, ooh, this is driving me insane. Okay? This is driving me absolutely insane. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this going and I'm going to start inviting people to get on here. I'm going to start sharing real quick. And I know the devil is trying to do everything he can to keep me from getting this lesson out, but the devil is a liar. I will not be defeated. And guess what? You will not be defeated either, because greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. And we will get this lesson and God will be glorified in the midst of it all. I'm sharing it right now. All you got to do is go. We are still live and rolling. I do apologize, but guess what? I will not give up. I will not give in, because greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. It is obvious that the Lord wants this word to get out. And you know what? Since the Lord wants this word to get out, the devil is doing everything he can to keep that word from coming alive. But the devil is a liar. Are y'all with me? Okay, here we go. Now, in the midst of all of this, what can actually happen is you can find yourself in a position where life no longer has meaning. It no longer is viable. And again, it can create a ton of different, a myriad of psychological and physiological situations that can come into your life. It can get you to the point that you are no longer vibrant. Life doesn't have any meaning to you. You're not living an abundant life. I mean, you're really not enjoying life. You're not enjoying what God has in store for you, because you can become so focused on what's going wrong until you no longer see what's right. I catch where I'm coming from. The enemy is notorious at creating tunnel vision. The enemy is notorious at placing you in a position where the good things in life are no longer focused on. But what happens is the bad is magnified to the point that you are now living in a depressed state. You are living in a moment where life no longer seems to have significance. Everything is out of focus now. Everyone is out of focus. You become paranoid. You get to the point that everybody is against you. Everyone is trying to hurt you. Everyone is talking about you. And again, as we shared with you, you know what they were doing. You know what they were doing as they saw her coming. And so what can happen in our lives spiritually is we can become perpetually empty. You go, listen, and I talked about this before, and I need to say it again. We all know how to go through the religious rigors. We all know how to say, praise the Lord, bless his name, glory to God, hallelujah, all of that kind of stuff. We all know how to do that. But then how do you handle life when the crowd is gone? How do you deal with the stuff that's nagging in your spirit when the prayer partners can't be found and the encouragers are nowhere around? And then how do you deal with the temptation to get into it yourself and try to rectify it? I know I don't have anybody here that's ever tried to do that. I know you've never, ever in your life saw where God wasn't really working like you wanted him to, and you didn't take matters into your own hands. Have you ever done that? I mean, God is just too slow. Celie, did you catch what I said? God is too slow. He's not moving fast enough. And so then all of a sudden we decide that God needs some help. God, and we've all been guilty of that. God doesn't know where we are or what we're going through, and God doesn't know how to get in the midst of it and change it. All of those things are happening. And so, excuse me, we see here that when you lack the capacity to enjoy life, and here's something that many of us better recognize and understand, it's moving. Now, Satan can place you in a depressed moment where it looks like life is standing still. But the reality is time is still ticking. And with time comes age. And so the enemy is good at freezing you in one particular mindset. But you need to remember that the clock is still ticking. And so you sit back and time is moving. Time is fleeing. Time is moving along. Hey, Michelle, how you doing? And so you're not even celebrating life. You're just existing. Each day is dull. Each day is depressive. Each day has no meaning. I mean, when you get up in the morning, that's when we use all of that stuff. Talking about, oh, I ain't had my cup of coffee, all that kind of. No, it ain't about no coffee. It's the fact that getting up has no significance because there's nothing in that day that you feel that can remove the cloud or the depressive moment that is happening in your life. Did y'all catch where I'm coming from? And being barren spiritual. I mean, have you ever noticed, and I'm not trying to be mean to nobody, and I ain't trying to talk about nobody. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. But hasn't there ever been a moment when in the midst of worship, and I mean, I ain't talking about nobody else's church. I can only deal with 528 Lincoln Avenue. And the worship is wild. I mean, folk are engaged. They're blessing the Lord and they're giving God glory. And you can tell. Now, I'm not talking about the people who just, it ain't their thing. I'm talking about the people whose load of life is so heavy that they actually look at you like, what in the world are you doing? And what we fail to understand is that they are suffering from the emptiness of life. And when life is empty, something else will take its place. When you don't have joy, something else will take its place. When you don't have peace, something else will take. Now listen, while you're on here, share again, so we can make sure we get everybody in there again, because I lost some people when we made that transition from where we are to where we are now. So make sure that you share again. And so life takes on a depressive state, a hopeless state, that every time you hear a positive word about anything, it goes bad, you doubt it, you don't, it will even get you to the point. Thank y'all for sharing. Thank you. Everybody that's on here, please share again so we can get everybody back on here. It will get you to the point that you will not only doubt God, but you will come close to not believing there is a God. Okay. See, some of y'all ain't never been there. Some of you have never had things go so wrong that now wrong is going to be with you the rest of your life. Well, this is her condition. This is the, thank y'all for sharing. This is where she is, and all of a sudden she hears this word from God to her husband that he's going to have children, and the number of children that he's going to have is going to be like the sand of the sea. And she hears this and she's bewildered. I mean, ladies, if you 65 years old, if you 65 years old and you have not had a child by now, and God comes along and tells your husband that your wife is getting ready to get pregnant, what's your reaction? 65 years old, and her childbearing days have exhausted themselves. 65 years old. D, stop. Okay. 65 years old, and she has heard the promise of God. But the problem is she's 65 years old. Not only is she 65 years old, but she ain't having sex with her husband. Okay. Because you sure can't get pregnant if you ain't having sex. Tyrone. You know what, Tyrone? I love it. You and D, y'all killing me. 65. Lord have mercy. That's right. 65 years old. And the Lord talking about you're going to have a child. And in her mind, she's going, yeah, right. But you got to remember, you got to look at the stage that has been set to bring her to the point of not believing. From the time she has married her husband up until her being 65 years of age, she has not been able to conceive. And so now the doubter hears a word of promise. Catch the spiritual connection. Whenever, Carolyn Williams, oh no, whenever you go through crises in life that create doubt, when God's promise shows up, you won't believe it, not because God said it, but because of the history of what you think are failures in your life. Catch where I'm coming from. Because, Michelle, stop. Because those seeds of doubt are being planted in your life, because God's promises are still yea and amen. And so the best way for the enemy to taint your faith is for you to be exposed to a myriad of difficulties over a span or a period of time. Okay? Are y'all catching where I'm coming from? Are y'all catching what I'm saying? And this is where Sarah is. Sarah is to the point that she's in the middle of a major crises. God has given her husband a word that will solve what is considered to be a curse against her. Oh my God. But the problem is, elder, you know what, elder, stop. Yes, at 65 years of age, that would be a miracle. I don't know what I'm going to do with y'all. And so, when the truth comes, and that truth is ready for manifestation, it cannot be embraced because of the years of doubt, the years of depression, the years. And see, that's what we've got to recognize, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. If you doubt God, it is because there has been a myriad of moments in your life of failures, of disappointments, of depression, of oppression, of failures that have brought you to the point that when God releases truth into your life, it falls on dull ears because you can't get past your past. You can't get past your disappointments. You can't get past the things that have held you back, that have hurt you, that have disappointed. Listen, it could be your first marriage. It could be your first child. It could be things going wrong. It could be the job that you lost. It could be the child that you lost. It could be all kind of things, children going to jail and all kind of craziness happened. You married a fool, she a fool, he a fool, everybody a fool. And then you create all kind of crazy things. And you look at your life and you say to yourself, what in the world did I do? How in the world do I fight? But see, here's the problem. When you create things, you can't get rid of them. And so what happens is, you know, you got constant reminders of your failure. And then if you got people in your family that won't never let you forget where you come from, or forget how stupid you were, or forget how drunk or high you got, or forget what you did. Here's the reinforcement of negativity that comes into your life. And so when you're bombarded by that over a long period of time, God shows up with the real thing and you ain't feeling it. This is where Sarah is. If this promise had showed up 40 years ago, sister girl could have handled it. If it had showed up 50 years ago, sister girl could have handled it. But now at 65, after the girls have been over in the corner talking about me, after my husband and I have been engaged in whatever, and ain't nothing come out of it, after I'm watching all the other women looking at my husband because, you know, maybe something wrong with him. Look, I'm dealing in the real world. And then all of a sudden, here comes God at this point of life talking about baby. And so she's messed up. She's messed up. The barrenness of life will take you to the point that it'll make you start thinking crazy things. What'll happen is everybody's got baggage. Samson had baggage. Peter had baggage. Jacob and Jonah, Rahab, Moses, all of them have baggage. All of them, when God gets ready to supernaturally intervene in their lives, it's their baggage that keeps them from embracing the promise. It's not the promise, it's the baggage. It's the baggage of mistakes. It's the baggage of not learning from the mistakes. It's the baggage of doing the same thing again after you just got done telling yourself you're not going to do it again. It's the baggage. And then here's what happens. Then we become what psychologists call functionally fixed. And so, Pam, I saw that you had gotten on there. See, when you become functionally fixed, that means it's difficult for you to change life patterns. People sometimes are not able to come out of some things because they don't see the patterns that have been created that they've learned to live in, even though this is not how they are supposed to live. Well, okay. This is where people become suspicious of everybody and only one person has done them wrong. This is where they don't become trusting, even though it's only been one person that dogged them. This is where people hear what people have to say, but they don't hear it because it's being masked behind the clutter and the clamor of your past. You can't love because the real person you love treated you like dirt, dogged you out and mistreated you. And so now you've developed this barricade that you know how to fake it, but you ain't feeling it. Oh, I wish I had some real people. Are you catching this, Roberta? Celia, are you catching this? That's what the enemy does. All you need is one bad, jacked up relationship. And you will continue to live in jacked up relationships the rest of your life. And you'll say to yourself, why can't I stop this? Why do I keep picking the same people? Why is it that I went from one bad relationship to another bad relationship to a bad this, a bad that, a bad the other? It's because you have psychologically become fixed, and certain things are the things that attract you even when that thing is wrong. So this is where she is. And guess what? This is where many of us are. This is why we can't embrace the promises of God. This is why we get mad when other people are happy. This is why our life has no meaning. This is why we are not able to go into any meaningful relationships, because you're barren on the inside. This is why, rather than loving somebody, you use them for what you can get out of them because somebody used you. And so what has happened is you have created a persona or a demeanor that you are able to trick people into loving you when you have no intention of loving them. And the only thing that you're going to do with them is use them for what they can provide for you, because you're never going to trust, because the pain is so deep that you want somebody else to hurt as bad as you do. And what you fail to understand is that venom is not only in your veins, but when you inject it into the lives of other people, they now become just as bitter as you are. And so here we go with a whole society full of venomous people. And we don't know how to engage in relationships. We don't know how to be loving. We don't know how to let walls down, because every time we do, because we're picking the wrong people. The wrong people we pick because we're functionally fixed are just like the people we got rid of. So what happens is when they bite us again, we become more venomous, not realizing that it is your past that is controlling your present. Did anybody catch what I said? And so in the midst of this, we see maybe people are lonely. And you ever seen anybody who just can't keep no relationship? Now, I'm not talking about sex, because you know what? Everybody can have sex. You know, you can have sex anytime you want to. Sex is not a relationship. Sex is sex. Okay, yeah. Yeah. People need relationships. People need someone that they can rely on, that they know got their back, and vice versa. And when you don't know how to engage in that, then, and I'm not saying everybody needs to get married. I'm not saying everybody's going to have somebody. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to get you to see is there's a real good possibility that the reason failures in relationships take place is because your functional fixedness is causing such a dramatic deficit in feeling as a human being that the only thing you know how to do is to make somebody feel as bad as you do. Okay? So what happens is you lose your drive. You lose your focus. You lose your ambitions, things that you want to do because you've never had anybody else tell you can do it. You've never had anybody else reaffirm that you can do it. You've never had anybody else encourage you when you say, I quit, and they say, no, you can't. You've never had anybody else and the reason you don't have those people is because you keep picking people who are encapsulated in your dysfunction. Woo. And it's hard to get rid of a booger bear that ain't no good. It's hard to get rid of somebody who ain't doing you no good because they whip guilt on you and make you feel bad. So here you got two miserable people who don't know how to engage in relationships, and all y'all doing is having sex. And then that's out of order. So let's look at this. Your productivity is down. You go to work, you do enough to get by and go home. If anybody ought to be the most productive people on a job, it should be the saints. But when you're damaged goods, you lose your productivity. How do you what else do? You lose your professional goals. You say you're going to go to school. Now you ain't going nowhere. Why should I? I done went to school. Ain't nothing else worked out. Listen to what I'm saying. Aren't these the things that we tell ourselves? And then we've got other people in our lives or in our family that reinforce that negativity. And then Christ comes along and says, well, I got your financial aid together. Well, I ain't going back. What I'm going to go to school for? I can't use it now because I'm too old. The devil is a liar. Your drive is gone. You know, life has no meaning whatsoever because you're barren. You can't focus. Everything is just in disarray. Everything is out of order. You can't focus on anything. You have no ambition. I just want to get through the day. How many people have you? I just want to make it through the day. I don't know. I can't handle no more. I can't go through no more. I can't do this. I can't do that. You talk yourself out of your own blessings. You don't need the devil to come along and sit down next to you. Shoot, you're doing a good job of it all by yourself. All of these things. And then all of a sudden you start lacking hope. It's like, here's what happened. It's always been like this. It's always going to be like this. I'm going to be miserable the rest of my life. I'm going to be lonely the rest of my life. I ain't never going to find a man. I ain't never going to find a woman. You don't need a man or a woman right now because somebody need to work on you. You mean to tell me you want God to bring a mate into your life so you can kill them too? No. You've got to come to terms with some things. And you've got to deal with some things. You don't even dream anymore. You have no aspirations anymore. We don't chase dreams anymore. We don't try to accomplish anymore. We've settled ourselves down in life that we're going to be miserable until the day the Lord calls us home. The devil is a liar. And here's the thing that many of us got to recognize and understand. When we get to that point, how do you handle a promise delayed? How do you handle a promise that does not, Minister Green, show up on your timetable? Catch what I'm saying? I'm not saying that the promise won't come. But how do you deal with when the promise does not show up on your timetable? How do you deal with the times of conflicted emptiness? How do you handle the emptiness that's going on inside of your life? Even though God has promised, in this situation, God has promised her husband that she's going to be a part of a great nation. You don't care about greatness. All you trying to do is get through another day. You don't care about the promises of God. All you trying to do is survive. It makes you no difference whatsoever, because life, and you know, tribulation works patience. And sometimes when these trials come, they are designed to help us to focus. The one thing that the Lord is really embedding in my spirit is to teach people how to focus, to wait on God, and what to do while waiting. And so we see very clearly that the promise has come. The promise is true. She's 65 years of age. She hears the promise. She knows that God will do it. She knows that God's pronouncement of a blessing on Abraham will come to pass. But there's a problem. In order for them to become a great nation, Abraham needed a son. Abraham is 75. Sarah is 65. They weren't just old, but their love life was gone. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Y'all don't want me to go into that. Y'all might have some kids sitting in there watching with you, and we don't want to get graphic with it. Love life is gone. And they didn't have all of these extras to help you out back in that day. When the love is gone, the love is gone. So here we go. Abraham was confused. He was messed up with the conversation of God because out of all these years, he ain't never had a child. Abraham was probably wondering how this process was going to work out. I know I would be confused. I'm 75 years of age, ain't never had a child, and now God's talking about I'm gonna have a child, and all of that stuff is y'all know what I'm saying. How in the world is this gonna happen? Sarah found out about the promise, and she concluded that through her biology, it ain't gonna happen. Abraham is confused because he old now. He old, and things don't function like they used to. So she realizes something. She realizes that at 65 years of age, she's barren. She realizes that at 65 years of age, she is doubting what God will do. And the reason she is doubting what God will do is because of all of those years of dealing with the issue of being barren and talked about. She believed the promise. But she also believed that God needed some help. Here we go, y'all. Y'all ready for this? And I know ain't none of y'all gonna ever say amen to this one. She looked at herself and she put her own plan together. Have you ever, stop it, talking about the thrill is gone. Have you ever, y'all need some help. Have you ever decided in your life to help God? Have you ever said to yourself that God is taking too long? Have you ever said to yourself, I'm getting older and I really don't have a whole lot of time to wait on this? Isn't God a mess when in the middle of your life he changes your life? And she says God needs some help because some time has gone by again. Yes, she's helping to fulfill the promise. But the problem is, here's the problem, D. The promise was given to 2 people, not 3. I know y'all didn't catch that. I know y'all didn't catch that. There was no promise given to a third party. And here is where we mess up, is when we start bringing other people into the process that only belongs between you and God. Here's the problem. When you start seeking out other people's advice, how can someone who has never been in your shoes or who has ever been as decimated as you are advise you on how to come out of this? We have no, Carletta, I don't know why your screen is blank. Everybody else can see me. You might need to find a way to, I don't know. I can't help you there. Y'all can't see me, can't you? I might have been assuming that y'all can see me. One thing that I have learned, Mark, one thing that I've learned is I got to be careful who I take counsel in. Because I can ask somebody, what do you think about this? And because I've been picking and choosing bad, okay, y'all can see me. Okay, cool. Since I've been picking and choosing bad, that means my bad choices also give bad counsel. I'm getting ready to take this a little bit deeper. I, because of my pain, can be bad counsel to myself. Can I let that sink in for a minute? My pain can cause me to make bad decisions. You might never slept with that person if you hadn't made a bad decision. You might not have got high. You might not have got drunk. You might not have did this. You might not have did that. You might not have did the other. If you could have had good counsel. And so where does Sarah go for good counsel? Because the women over by the water fountain constantly talking about her. Now the love life is gone. Well, partner in his tent, I'm in my tent. We communicate, but we ain't doing nothing else. And now God done popped up with this. Guess what y'all getting ready to do? Y'all gonna have a baby. So she starts talking to herself in her tainted mentality. Jesus, God, oh, if I don't never teach again, I'm about ready to leap over this desk. She's talking to herself through her pain and her plight. And it is her pain and her plight that creates the alternative product. Jesus. That creates something that God never intended to be created. Do y'all mind if I go another 15 minutes? Because we went through all of that stuff and all of that craziness. Can I go another 15 minutes? I just want to do that so I can get where I need to be, because I'm sorry that this thing messed up like it did. If that's all right, just tell me if that's okay, because I normally do it just for an hour. But I just need to make sure that you're going to hang in there with me, because I don't like going longer than what I'm going. So, okay, thank you. So, here I am. I have nobody else to talk to. And if I did, I'm going to talk to people just like me. Jesus. Look at the people you hang with. And ask yourself, why do I hang with them? Could it be that they are just like me? If your friends are bitter, if your friends are miserable, if your friends are self-consumed, if your friends only care about nobody but themselves, there's a real good possibility you are just like them. And just like they can't give good counsel. That's it. Look, Daryl, birds of a feather flock together. If they can't give good counsel because they are a reflection of you, that means you can't give good counsel to yourself. Here's what Sarah does. Since she has not had this child, she's got an Egyptian maid. Hey guy, whatever we want. And she decides, this is how you know you've reached a different level of depression and depravity in mental functionality. When you are willing, get this, to first of all, allow your husband to have sex with an Egyptian, which is a contradiction to the word of God. Here's the first thing that's wrong. You are now contradicting the lifestyle you've been raised with. The Bible is clear that the Jewish nation was not to intermingle with any other nationality but theirs. And she tells her husband, let's violate the word of God. because I haven't produced a baby yet, I'm going to give you my Egyptian handmaiden. And I'm going to let you go have sex with her. Now, I want y'all, please don't flip the channel on me, because I'm getting ready to give you a presupposition I don't think you've ever seen before. God has already supernaturally intervened in the sex life of Abraham and Sarah. Now, somebody might say, well, I don't see that there. Can y'all give me another minute? I'll show you. If the two of them could not have sex, Sarah could not be disappointed in not getting pregnant. Can I let that marinate for a moment? Now you may say, well, how do you know that their sex life is regenerated? Sarah says, I want you to have sex with Hagar, my Egyptian handmaiden, and she gets pregnant. Oh, can I let that? God, many people never look at this passage. Sarah is disappointed because even though God has rejuvenated their sex life, she's not pregnant. Okay, get this. I know y'all not ready for this. "10 years. Tyrone, you killing me. You killing me. I hear you though, man. I hear you. I don't want that blessing coming my way either. Listen, 10 years of sexual activity are going on between Abraham and Sarah, and there's no child. Sarah gets frustrated because there's no child and says to her husband, I don't really believe that I'm the one to have your child. Take this Egyptian woman. And the Bible says Abraham, whose sex life is restored, has sex with this woman and she gets pregnant. Yeah, I know y'all ain't never seen that. I know y'all ain't never seen that before, because if I can't have functionality in sexual activity, I can't get disappointed. I can only get disappointed by having sex and don't produce anything. That's how Hagar got into the picture. Because after 10 years, Sarah has not produced a child. So she says, here she is. Abraham says, since I'm functioning, here we go, because there's a seed that has been planted even in Abraham, because Abraham knows better. But because his sexuality is rejuvenated, he lays up with this girl. And the intent is pregnancy. Oh, Jesus. The intent of the sexual encounter is a baby. Now, here's the problem. I got a few more minutes. Here's the problem. Anytime you violate the will of God, anytime you violate the operation of God in your life, you have got to deal with the repercussions of it. That's right, Cora. Sarah tried to help God out and she got in the way of it. Are you catching what I'm saying? Y'all not catching what I'm saying? Because of a lack of faith on both of their parts. And because, and again, the Bible says that Abraham listened to his wife. I'm not making this a negative or anything like that, but there ain't but one person he should have been listening to, because Sarah did not speak the promise. God did. And God already mapped out how the promise would come to pass. But Sarah couldn't handle it anymore. Sarah couldn't deal with it anymore. Gives him this Egyptian girl to have sex with. She gets pregnant. And here comes the problem. Anything outside of the will of God creates a problem. Anytime you decide that my way is the best way, anytime that you decide that God is too slow and I need to expedite the process, anytime, Adam did too, anytime that you say God's process is too slow for me, you are setting yourself up for a heartache of an unbelievable magnitude. So Sarah gets into the plan that God never intended for them. And many of us are just like Sarah. Many of us, when God says he's going to do something, and here's the thing that you must remember, my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. God never tells you the timetable. He just tells you the promise. I'm going to let that marinate for a moment. God never tells you the timetable. Yeah, but you know what, Maria? I know you're talking about you would never give your husband to no woman, but you got to look at where her counsel is coming. Listen, let's get off of, him sleeping with another woman. Let's talk about bad decisions you've made and are making because you are listening to tainted counsel. See, don't shortchange this. Don't limit what God is saying in this text to just sex. What have you done? And I'm not saying this to Maria, just Maria. This is just a general statement. What have you done that God said it one way, but you decided to do it another? What has God spoken clearly to your spirit or through his word you should do, but you tell God through your behavior because your behavior is tainted? My way is the best way. This is just a glaring example of how we make mistakes because of the baggage, the issues, the problems, the disappointments and the heartaches that have followed us through life. And because we don't deal with them, they're dealing with us. And then when the promise of God comes, we can't embrace it because our ability, there you go, D, you caught it. Our ability to function in the will of God is tainted by our life, by us not dealing with issues and allowing God. Listen, if God miraculously restores their sex life, that's an indicator that what God says he will do, he will do. But there's a problem. And you know what? I'm not going any further. I'm going to stop it right there. And then when we get together next week, we're going to talk about the problem. Because there's a problem anytime you decide that God is too slow. Anytime you decide that God's way is not the way you want to do it. Anytime that you decide that I'm going to get in this and I'm going to turn it around myself. And the problem is you couldn't even bring yourself to this moment. Happy Valentine's Day to you too, to each and every one of you, D, and to the rest of you. I pray that this teaching was a blessing for you, and I look forward to next week when we come together as we will continue in this. But I need us to catch this if you don't catch anything else. Okay, I need you to grasp how do you deal with doubt? What do you do when the promise is delayed? But you need to know, and I say this all the time, delay is not denial. Listen, I'm getting ready to get out of here. Pray for the families of those murdered children in Florida. Pray that our nation gets some common sense. I don't know how that's going to happen with you know who in there, but pray that this devastating moment in our history will come to an end. I love you. I appreciate you. I thank each and every one of you. May God bless you and may he keep you is our prayer.